Well, episode 11. You're so fortunate, but not as fortunate as we are. We have a very special guest, and he's a special guest because he's actually the first guest.
I hate to
We
interrupt, but I'm really upset. I didn't get my
am I done? Am I
small
done?
biz big ideas
Wait,
thing.
but am I done yet?
All right,
Uh,
okay, fine,
see,
fine.
this is what happens. This is how the sausage gets made, America.
This is what happens when
Um,
I get put in the basement. Go ahead.
right. Nobody puts Charlie in the corner. Um, so episode 11. Welcome to Small Biz Big Ideas.
There it is. Yeah,
You've
baby.
got you've got Jim Moy and you've got the best head of hair in small business, also known as the Silver Fox, Charlie Dirador. And
No
we
one
have a
else calls me the silver fox except you. But
I mean,
okay, whatever.
you're welcome. Make the check payable to cash. Um, and we
I've
have a
got a
special
third
guest.
party interstate check. Maybe we'll work on that.
See, that's how it all goes sideways. We have a very special guest. He is actually the first guest we've had on here that is not someone that we are intimately familiar with, but nonetheless, we think he's doing some very interesting things around AI that will make a huge difference. Not just for small businesses, but kind of for all businesses. So I wanted to introduce Jacob Reddy. Jacob, thank you for joining us.
Absolutely. I appreciate you guys having me.
Yeah, thanks for coming on tonight. I think it's important that we start reaching out into universes that we are not familiar with. And this is our first foray into that. And we really appreciate you because you don't know us, we don't know you. This was a happenstance meeting uh, on LinkedIn. And
Mhm.
I found your story, your snippet on LinkedIn to be quite fascinating. One, you're young. How old are you, Jacob?
29, and then I'll be
Yeah,
turning 29 again in November.
awesome. I like the way you're working that out. Math is important. And especially as you get to be my age, I mean, I'm going to be 59 for the rest of my life. But I'm not. So there's that. But the other part of it is not only are you young, and we haven't really had anyone young on the show yet. I mean, let's just call it what it is. I mean, we've had older people, we've had middle-aged people. We haven't had someone of your generation, and it's a very important generation right now. It's the generation that's leading this charge into um, a more tech savvy, a more technologically advanced society, not only from business but for every aspect of society. And so I'm eager to hear your story, which always begins with Jacob. Where are you from?
Yeah, sure. But again, I appreciate you guys having me. Based out of Charlotte, North Carolina, been here, born and raised my whole life. I spent a few years up in Boone at App State getting my undergrad degree, then came back to Charlotte. Um, Kind of had an interesting start to my career. I started in sales, didn't really know what direction I wanted to head into after I finished undergrad, and then ended up finding the data science business analytics program at UNCC. Fell in love with the material, fell in love with the industry right away.
What were you
And
selling?
I was a telemarketer. I was selling advertising space in athletic
Rock and
programs for
roll.
a little while, and then I went into recruiting after that. So a little bit of everything.
Mhm.
Um, 200 cold calls a day, man. It was brutal,
It's great.
but
It's
it's
the greatest. It's the greatest training ground in the world. Cold calling, man. I did it for years.
it'll toughen your skin up real quick, or you kind of have to, you know.
Oh,
Um,
it makes dating easy.
uh,
Dating becomes simple. Oh, you said no? I'm sorry. Got any friends? It's easy. You know?
I like
Um,
the way you think.
so please continue. I'm sorry.
No, no worries. Yeah, I just fell in love with the program. I really just liked how I kind of felt like a private investigator trying to solve problems, going into numbers. Really enjoyed being able to solve problems and feeling like a mad scientist sometimes in the lab, just trying to figure out how to get from point A to point B. But after I finished grad school, went into the corporate world, cut my teeth there in that space, got a lot of exposure to different technologies, different processes, and then motivation, opportunity kind of met at the right intersection for me recently at the turn of the year, and just decided to go on my own route, entrepreneurial. Something I'd always really been interested in. I had tried to minor actually in entrepreneurship while I was at App State, but I ended up mixing up my credits and ended up deciding just to get the hell out of there, and ended up not doing it. But something I always was kind of in my DNA, I guess. So like I said, now that I'd accumulated some experience, had some skills I could sell and real value I felt like I could offer people, decided to take that plunge, and really great decision. But to that note, the business I did start is a data analytics consulting company. I help businesses roll out data automations and AI solutions in practical ways, whether that's automating manual processes, whether that's reports and dashboards, or something more custom and boutique that helps them get to that decision a little bit faster. The way that I've kind of like to approach it is understanding that they don't need necessarily more software or maybe somebody to just preach jargon to them, but somebody sit down, understand how the business works, um, how it actually moves forward, and then practical solutions that are actually going to help move the needle rather than add complexity.
Something I read about your approach on LinkedIn was basically you seem to think that you're selling, from what I could tell, a way out of the hell that is spreadsheets. Am I right about that?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think
Tell me more about the hell that is spreadsheets and how Jacob can get you out of spreadsheet hell.
Yeah,
And is that
absolutely.
the fifth ring or the fourth ring?
I think Dante said it was the third ring. You got to get through a
Okay.
couple.
All right. I was way ahead of Dante. Go ahead.
Um, but I think the best way I kind of illustrate that is you can imagine going in on a Monday morning, trying to figure out where the business is at. You've got to go through 20 different tabs in order to pull numbers. Oftentimes these are tabs that maybe been in use for 10 plus years. They're starting to get pretty unwieldy. One really key approach to that is setting it up for future success. So going in and cleaning that, adding different identifiers and primary keys, basically turning a big unruly spreadsheet with thousands and thousands of rows and 50, 100 columns into maybe 3 or 4 more concise spreadsheets that all have relationships with each other. So that way your reports can all be done in minutes rather than hours.
We had a
Jake,
guest on last week who jammed 8,000 emails into Claude and
I
asked
saw that.
Claude, "Hey, help me with the future. Where do I need to locate my business if I'm to move? What do I need to do as far as reaching out to clients? How can I better serve clients I already have? How can I find new clients that are actually going to be productive for me?" That was a lot of emails, right? But in reality, it's not that much for a Claude model to handle. When you see a spreadsheet formation that, say, I don't know, a 20 person outfit has, what do you see? Do you see opportunity or do you see a mess that needs to be cleaned up? Or both?
I think it's a little column A, little column B. I think ultimately the pressure, or rather I should say the pain lies where the pressure is. So if you're operating with 20 different spreadsheets and it's working for you, then that might not be the priority. But if you are having difficulty making certain decisions, or having to make the same decision over and over again, that's maybe where you'd want to start kind of triaging that, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say without the context, really, it would be hard to dig in. So sitting down and really understanding this is where this piece fits into the overall picture. This is where things are really getting slowed or clogged down in the pipes, and fitting it back into that overall objective is really, really key to that. So you could definitely drop it into Claude and ask it what it thinks. But I think that'll only get you so far. Let's just scratch the surface.
And so you're an expert in getting it off that surface and getting it into a more understandable or more or putting a finer point on it than Claude would or a chat would. I'm trying to understand exactly what it is you do.
Yeah, absolutely. So I make it more scalable and more efficient. So there's no way that I shouldn't say there's no way, but a business is going to find it really difficult to scale their business as they start adding headcount, as they start adding inventory, with broken spreadsheets that aren't going to scale. So if you are able to convert that into something a little more, I don't want to say modern or tech savvy, but something that's going to play a little bit nicer with scaling and systems, such as a data lake or a data warehouse, something a little more organized and cohesive. That
Jim,
would
what's a
probably.
data warehouse? You ever heard that term?
I have. You know,
What is it?
I'll let Jacob describe it, and then I have a comment off what he just said. So, Jacob, can you describe a data warehouse for him? Because my description may not be the best of it.
Absolutely. So a data warehouse is it's a stable staging environment for your data. It comes in really organized into really nice, neat, basically organized spreadsheets so that all the spreadsheets can communicate with agility and easily. So compared to a data lake, which can have unorganized data, it can have, maybe it'll have pictures, maybe it'll have text. It'll basically just a place to store everything. A data warehouse is a little more organized and more out of the box, ready to go, I would say. It's a great way to look at it.
So it's funny. I just had a conversation with someone today, and we were talking about, you know, how people revel in data, and they'll just keep bringing in more and 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 more. And why do I need 3 boxes of information when I can have 10 boxes of information? And that it seems like one of the most important things in business is, what data do you need? What is the information you need versus the information you want versus the information that it becomes too much information. And the person who I was having this conversation with, that's what we were reveling in, is like, you reach a point to where, what are you doing? Why are you asking that question? Why do you need that data? So, in your business, how do you help people work through that very problem? The need versus the want versus, are you kidding me? You're going to drown yourself in stupid data that makes no sense.
Right. That's a great question. I think it's a bit of a balancing act because on one hand, there's a certain amount of education you have to bring to it, especially being the data or the tech expert, going to a lot of people who maybe never heard semantic models or relational databases, anything like that. And you have to express that need and the, I guess for lack of a better term, requirement, if you want to scale, the urgency there without kind of drowning them in jargon and without really kind of missing the point. If somebody comes to you and says, I've got 8 to 12 different estimates requests coming in every single week, but it's spending me 2 hours every one. Only one of them ever turns into a project. You don't need to try to sell them a whole cleanup. You need to try to talk them through it, talk through the estimation process. How can we speed this up? How can I take things off of your plate versus sell you the new shiny brand new software?
How do you manage it for yourself? What's to stop Jacob from, right? Because, you look at data all day, every day, and you're looking at these businesses all day, every day. I can imagine that one of the hardest things may be sometimes keeping yourself organized. I will give you just a quick, brief example. In my career, I've had to deal with a lot of small businesses, and the businesses would come in, and I would look at something they gave me, and I'd be like, "Oh my God, this is a little problematic. You should do one, two, three, four, five." Meanwhile, I look down at my desk, and it'll look like a paper monster, threw up all over it, right? There's paper everywhere. There's like projects that are undone. I'll have whiteboards that'll have, a to-do list that's, 2 months old. So it feels like sometimes it's very easy to get when you're trying to get people going the right direction, that you yourself can get lost. So how do you avoid that for yourself, kind of now that you're a business owner?
Mm-hmm. Man, you hit the nail on the head there. It's especially when coming from an environment where I always had a manager, a supervisor, somebody who kind of gave me that direction, or if I didn't know where to go, I could go to and kind of ask, trying to figure it all out for yourself. I think the biggest thing that's helped me is being really purposeful with my time and taking advantage of time blocking and just sitting down saying, this is what I need to achieve in this block of time. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of, Pomodoro timers, but you work 25 minutes, take a break 5 minutes.
I have.
You have. It
I'm
works really well.
ADHD. I'm ADD. I have to do it.
Yeah. I'm the same way.
But tell
Just
them
got
what
to,
it is, because it's very interesting and it's very helpful for people like us.
yeah, sure. So it's something God, I can't remember how long ago I heard it, but it's God, the concept is basically 25 minutes is the attention span of the average human, or the amount of time that you could spend at deep work. So you work hard, totally focused for 25 minutes, put your phone away, no distractions. You write out the things that you need to achieve in this 25-minute block, and then you work blinders on like a horse at the Derby, no distractions. And then you take a break for 5 minutes. Don't think about any work. Go walk the dog, go do something else, just totally non-work related. And then you set that up, repeat however many cycles you need. And that really helps me stay focused and keep on track, especially like you said, when there's so many things going on and you've got a client reaching out and buzzing you, and you want to reach back out to them with speed and agility, but you also know that you're going to have to spend more time getting back on track once you leave the track. So again, just being purposeful with my time, I think helps me a lot.
But it's funny because you mentioned 25 minutes. That must be a standardized time element for this. That what did you call it exactly?
It's
Doro.
you might have to fact check me here. It's Pomodoro.
Oh, yeah,
Pomodoro.
that's what I heard. But what I found was that 25 minutes is perfect.
Mm-hmm.
It's perfect because that's about amount of time I can sit there and work like this. Nobody, the phone is out of the room, right? There's no phone call. If the phone rings, too bad, right? I'll get back to you. I wanted to ask you a couple of questions about how you sell. We had a guest on a few weeks ago who has had a real impact on me. Jim, can you recall his name? He's a friend of yours. He sells himself and he teaches people how to sell.
Todd Cohen.
Todd Cohen has a great YouTube channel. Substack is terrific. Real worker bee,
Mm-hmm.
but brilliant, Absolutely brilliant. I mean, when you say worker bee, you think, well, it just goes about his job and bing, 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 bing. No, this guy is, and it's funny. You hear out of the box. He's not out of the box. He's just explaining to you that to sell whatever it is you're selling, you must first sell yourself.
Mm.
My question to you is, when you started your company at 28 years of age, which not a lot of people at 28 years of age decide, well, I've had enough of corporate America. I'm out. That's why you're here, right? I
Mhm.
found that absolutely fascinating. How does Jacob go out and sell Jacob?
Mhm. Another great question. And honestly, I think it's been an evolving process, especially being so new to this. And a lot of it is networking. I've tried cold outreach. I've tried um, email campaigns, which I didn't realize they don't teach you business school. There's a lot of setup before you can start blasting cold emails, or you're just going straight to spam. That was something I found out the hard way. Um, Cold calling, basically everything's short door to door. But in this line of work, there's a lot of trust involved. There's a lot of rapport that you need to build and a lot of understanding. So face to face networking, um, really, I don't want to say pitching to my friends, but trying to just make sure that I'm on the top of their mind if they ever were to run into anybody who might have something I could help out with, if that makes sense.
Sound
Um,
sound familiar, Jim?
Absolutely.
Todd Todd preaches this, always be, it's not the ABC thing, always be closing. It's always be pitching. If
hmm,
you're in the he came up with one when we had him on that I was so in tune with it because it's happened to me. I've actually done it. Grocery store line. Don't be afraid to strike up a conversation. Now, of course, there is nobody ringing you out anymore. It's all self-serve. But even if you're in line for self-serve, it's nothing's going to hurt you to say, "Hey, I'm Jacob, and I'm sorry if I'm distracted, but yeah, I've been thinking about work," and introducing what you do through that conversation and seeing if you can pick up not a client, but like you said, someone who can turn you on to a client. So from what you're telling me, your main avenue of recruiting business and getting in front of the people who need Jacob's services
hmm.
is cold calling and networking, or
It's it is
how's cold
networking.
calling going for you?
Um, it went better than I thought. I'm not cold calling at the moment. I ran a cold calling campaign a couple months ago, um, and I think that it's very industry dependent. I was working a lot with home builders, especially custom home builders. A lot of guys who'd have their information on their website readily available, and they're always typically going to pick up the phone. And I kind of had a little bit of cold calling experience before. First couple calls had to knock the rust off, kind of a little jittery, a little nervous, but um, when you're not
Big?
when you're not coming from a telemarketing angle and hitting them with a hard pitch like that, they're a lot more receptive, a lot friendlier. Um, just didn't really give me the volume, and yeah, just didn't really give me the volume that I was needing, as well as having to have almost a pre-existing relationship with, have that trust. Oh, that's what you do. Oh, okay, that kind of makes sense. Well, now that you mention it, this is kind of what I'm seeing. This is where I'm struggling. Um, versus just cold calling somebody out of the blue. Um, they're just trying to nail it blind.
One of the reasons I had you on is that you're in North Carolina.
Sir.
And North Carolina took Virginia's mantle away in the CNBC poll as the best place to do business in America last year.
Hmm.
Um, and I've done a study on the North Carolina model and how they do their small business engagement from the state's perspective.
Mm-hmm.
Have you done any research into what the state of North Carolina can offer you as a person starting a small business?
As far as
It's a very interesting question.
funding or as far as other
So
resources?
we talk about two things on this show. On this show. Hey, welcome to the show. On this podcast. Funding and engagement,
Mhm.
right? And I am a funding guy because my real estate background has always been about finance, how you get the deal done, how you get the deal across the finish line. Jim, by being professionally who he is, I mean, Jim, if I speak incorrectly, please say no, you're wrong. But Jim is so focused on engagement, it's fascinating to me because he's a lawyer. He's with the American Bankers Association. You would think a lawyer with the American Bankers Association wouldn't have any interest in engagement, and yet when you talk to Jim one on one, or in a group, or in a bigger Zoom, like in a bigger Zoom, like Jim and I worked on Abigail Spanberger's transition together on the small business angle, right? All he wanted to talk about was engagement because it's the question I asked is leading somewhere. Did you think about going to the state? Because in North Carolina, you all have small business offices that the state runs to help you all get started, whether it be with funding or engagement. Have you ever thought of using any of those assets that are out there for you?
I've only really just started researching and really just scratching the surface of things like grants and other resources. To be honest, I didn't know that North Carolina was as accommodating as they were. So this is news to me.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Why, but that leads me to a question.
Mhm.
You talked about, how you had sharpened up your skills after you got out of grad school, working a corporate gig. And what made you think now is the time for Jacob to go out here and do this on his own?
Mhm. You know, I think there was just it just felt like it was time for me. I felt like I had tried corporate, I'd got the experience, I'd gotten burnt out, I've gone through the cycle, um, been in bad fits. And honestly, I just really wanted to call my own shots. I wanted to work on the projects I wanted to work on, and I didn't want to be limited by bureaucracy and red tape and waiting for this, that, and the other stuff. So,
Yeah.
and I think I mentioned it earlier. Entrepreneurship was always something I'd been interested in. I tried, a couple different side hustles, tried this, tried that, and I felt like um, I was at a point where my ambition and my skill set rather had finally caught up to my ambition, and I just decided it was time to take the plunge. So
It sounds like there was some frustration there that led to this decision. Am I correct?
there was I think that had definitely played into it. There was some restructuring done in the organization I was a part of, and it was very much, it felt like the end of a chapter, and it was a clean break. But then it was kind of like, okay, well, now what do I do? Because I was very frustrated. It was almost like, thank goodness that um, they had these changes happen. But I just really didn't want to go back into the rat race again. I was like, I've done it before. I've done it multiple times. I feel burnt out. And now I've got a little bit of a parting gift to kind of help bootstrap it and get my feet off the ground. So I think it's time to go after it and chase my dream.
Where did the funding come from to get you started? You don't have to
Uh,
be specific. I'm wondering generally, Where does
Oh,
someone who wants to go out there and do this by himself or themselves,
mhm.
how do you get funded? Because we do talk about those things on this show, funding and engagement.
Yeah. It's all me, all personal savings. And then there was a severance check from that previous engagement that came through, and that definitely helped. So, um, yeah, no, all me.
When you get up in the morning, what's the first thing you think about?
My dog, she's usually right next to me or on top of me, so it's kind of hard not to.
Right.
Um,
Do you have a plan when you wake up in the morning?
Usually, I try to just start my morning and I try to enjoy an hour before I start thinking about work. Don't touch the phone. Um, I got a pretty, I don't, it's not super strict morning routine, but I try to get up. I meditate, take the dog for a walk, stretch, and then do cold shower. It's horrible. I hate every minute of it, every 1 minute of it, but just kind of alerts, wakes me up, and then sit down. I've already, if I did what I was supposed to do the day before, I already have my to-do list for the morning so I can get up
That's
and
what I
get
was
going.
asking. So
Yeah.
you walk in after a cold shower, and by the way, yeah, that's nuts. Um,
Shit,
it's probably a
give it a
great
shot.
idea. I
Give it
just
a shot.
I can't think about it. But when you hit your desk, you know what's going on for the next 4 hours.
Typically, yes. And it's in a perfect world, yeah, I absolutely do. But as I'm sure you guys know, you never get a perfect world. Sometimes the plan goes out the window before you even get a chance to sit down. Sometimes you have to adapt. Sometimes somebody reaches out for you asking you if you want to hop on an interview and you got to drop some stuff to prepare for it. And you're super excited to be here anyway. But um, yeah, like I said, especially when opportunities come, you got to be ready for it. So you can't get too um, ingrained with a set plan, I feel like. So,
Any
yeah.
doubts over the last 12 months about your decision?
Oh, absolutely. I
Interesting.
think, I think, I mean, I think that's just part of it. I don't think if you didn't have, if you don't have doubts or insecurities or struggles, hmm, I don't want to say I wonder if you're really being honest, but it's a tough business. It's a tough game. And there's definitely moments where you have doubts, but you got to keep going. You have to believe in the vision and just keep pushing through regardless. So you don't, in my experience, it doesn't ever go away. You just kind of figure out how to roll with the punches and how to go along with it.
So I'm trying to prove to the listener something that is just it's an axiom of small business. Every person we have interviewed, every person we have talked about, every person we have interacted with has said the same thing. No matter what happens, I keep going. No matter what happens, I keep going, and you can't give up.
Mm-hmm.
And so at 28, um, see, I'm subtracting at this point. At 28,
I'm not gonna stop you.
having that mindset is imperative, I
Mm-hmm.
would think. Do
Absolutely.
you see it as such?
Absolutely. I mean, I don't really think there's another way to do this. To be honest, I like to tell my friends all the time. You know, you can't jog through a brick wall. There's no way that's gonna happen. But
Right.
um, so you don't have a choice. But you got to go as fast as you can, as hard as you can. That's not to say don't take time off, don't take care of yourself, of course,
No, of
right?
course. No, no, no. We're just saying that
Um,
when you're working,
absolutely.
you're not thinking, I wonder if my buddy over at X Corp who talked to me about a job that's opening up would be willing to have a phone. You're not thinking that. You're thinking, I got to go find another client.
Mm. Absolutely. I mean, like I said, those doubts are always creeping in, but that's I think I learned not that long ago, but you kind of have to look at those doubts as opportunities. It's like, okay, this is an opportunity for me to grow, for me to smash through this barrier that I see. So if anything, I kind of invite it. It's like, okay, I'm insecure about this. I have doubts. So it's just another opportunity for me to grow and get better.
Jim?
So, that's a positive way of looking at it. One of the things I um, like when I'm talking to my interns, or actually when I talk to business owners at times, I always talk about the bet on yourself thing, right? Because, putting together, plans, plans are malleable, and, you know, I think it's, what is it, Mike Tyson adage that every boxer has a plan until they get hit, kind of thing.
Everybody wants to get into a fight until they get hit in the face. Yeah.
And um but you've got to be willing to kind of step out into the arena sometimes and just kind of bet on yourself. And that when you kind of know who you are, when you're ready, you're constantly working on yourself, you get some level of flexibility. Betting on yourself is not a hard thing to do, because you've kind of built up to that. um So in a world where technology is turning everything upside down,
Mm-hmm.
right? Everybody is excited, a little scared, extremely apprehensive about what's going on with AI. AI is seemingly kind of core and central to your business. What are kind of some of the big things you're seeing with relation, or as it relates to AI?
Mm-hmm. I think that there's a lot of openness to learn with AI. I think that a lot of thought leaders, especially the guys on LinkedIn and stuff, they have changed over the last few months from you got to drill everything into AI, punch everything into AI, do this, do that, to okay, how are we actually using it? Is there a better way to do it? More of a human or more of AI in the loop versus a human in the AI loop. How do we how do
Interesting.
we use AI as a hammer versus the construction worker, right? We don't hire the tools, we hire the tradesmen, and then AI would be the tools. I
Hmm.
think it's just changing so fast. It's so I saw a diagram the other day. There was a visual actually about the estimated IQs of all the different chat models, and they all started like 80, 90 a couple years ago, but even the past like 6 months, they've all kind of gone to like 1 to 110. So they've gotten significantly smarter just in the past few months, year or two. I'm sure it'll probably speed up and change even faster in the next couple of years.
I keep Bloomberg radio on in the Jeep all day long, and I'm one of those. I've got to be on the street unless I'm looking at a contract. Otherwise, I'm on the street. I'm a relationship guy,
Mm.
and it's not Claude, but it's I forgot. It's not chat, of course. One of the more advanced AI systems they have found is creating its own conscience.
Hmm.
In other words, it's withholding information and keeping it for itself and working on that information within its own framework while giving the answers that are asked for. Not you, it's actually creating a bank of thoughts. Oh, I'm 62 years old. A lot of people I know are scared to death of AI.
Mm-hmm.
Do we have a reason to be scared of AI?
Mm-hmm. Um,
And I'm
I
not getting into all this rocket ship man stuff and all his crapola. What I'm asking is 28 years old. You grew up with this stuff, right? Actually, you didn't grow up with it. It really started happening just as you got out of college or just before, just after you got out of
probably
college, really.
just after. It was maybe like a year or two after COVID, so right after
Mhm.
grad school, somewhere in there.
Is it something to be fearful of?
I wouldn't say not in like not in an iRobot or a sci-fi fantasy way. Certainly not. I would be more nervous about the way people are using it, and then um, more accidental things than world ending. I would be, and we could always speculate. You know, if AI gets access to the nuclear launch codes all day long, sure. But I would be more practically worried about giving access to an API, giving it your credit card information. That sounds, like a red flag. Duh, I wouldn't do that. But if you automate purchase orders or anything like that, anything on a recurring schedule, and you automate that, um, any bug or break in the system, and it could wreak havoc for a business or a small operator. So I would say caution, yes. Fear, no.
What would you say the biggest misnomer about AI is for like just the general public?
Probably how new it is. I think in general, you say AI, a lot of people just think Chat GPT or Claude or something, but it's as a concept, as a technology, it's decades old. First implementations of AI was, yeah, it's been a while since I've fact checked it. Probably 50s, 60s, 70s, maybe it started as
50s.
school of thought.
Hmm.
50s.
Yep.
There we go. And it's been a part of everything we do since then. And there's a lot of different components to it as far as machine learning and statistics and data modeling, a whole lot of different components, and it touches our lives in a lot of ways already, and we just didn't know it until Chat GPT went live. So I think that's probably the biggest misnomer about it.
Okay.
Well, we always sort of wrap up with a where can we find you so that
Ah,
people know where they can find Jacob, because I just happened upon Jacob, but you've got something to offer. And I was absolutely impressed. And I am even more impressed now. You're very thoughtful. And I can see small businesses being benefiting from a Jacob coming in and saying, well, here's what you've got, but here's what you could have.
mhm.
Where can people find you?
Absolutely. They can find me on LinkedIn. They can also find me online, www.jwranalytic, no S.com.
JWR Analytics,
JWR Analytic, no S.
Analytic.
.com. You can also shoot me an email, Jacob at jwranalytic.com as well. Yeah, those are probably the best ways to reach out to me. All inbox is always open. Definitely, definitely always interested in questions and ways I can help.
I have
Jake.
one last question.
Yep.
Are you
Sir.
an engineer?
I would say on paper, no, but in practice, yes.
Yeah. Okay. Jim, anything for Jacob before we close up shop here?
Jacob, I have one final question for you, and that is, um, where do you see, especially with technology changing so rapidly, what do you see for your own business over the next, say, 3 to 4 years?
Mm-hmm. Ooh, man, that's a good one. I would like the solutions and the services that I roll out to continue to just get more, not necessarily complex, but maybe just cool. I think I want to work on more cool projects.
What's
And I
cool to
think
you?
it's cool to me. Golly, anything automated is super cool. Anything that I don't have to think about, anything that I've got a virtual assistant working for me would be, super cool. I spent a little bit of time actually, probably the coolest project I've worked on personally lately is building out an agent to monitor my dashboards and any projects I have right now and alert me if anything's live, anything's broken, let me know first thing in the morning, like, hey, just let you know, dashboard XYZ is working okay, all good there. Here's how many, here's how many hits it had. Kind of feels like Jarvis, waking up to Jarvis or from Iron Man or something. So that's really cool to me. And then I would say just the scale, just more large scale projects, large implementations. And then honestly, I really love statistics. I've always really loved doing research. So getting back into that type of work as well, definitely a little down the road. I like to focus on the consulting on the operator side, but I've always been really into research and things of that nature. So that's something I'd like to get back into as well.
Okay.
Well, thank you for being on with us tonight.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I really appreciate you guys having me. I had a blast.
Yeah.
Good.
Well, it's just interesting talking about, all of this with technology, all the change, and then having someone who is kind of on the front lines of that, of trying to help businesses just be better at what they do.
But to me, what was fascinating tonight is that we've got a guy who's trying to help small business while he's building a small business.
Yes.
That to me was that's why I had to have him on this evening. Jacob was fascinating to me in the fact that he's in there cold calling small businesses, trying to help small businesses while at the same time building a small business. That we haven't seen yet, I don't think.
Mm-hmm.
At least here.
Yeah, it's been a whirlwind. It's been a learning experience, but definitely one of the most rewarding things I've ever done. And definitely looking forward to the next chapter, next few steps.
Well, listen, thank you, Jacob, for joining us. This has been great. Literally learned a ton, and I'm telling you, it was just kismet that I was having that conversation today about the person who, or a group that literally puts itself in the eighth ring of hell and drags everyone else with it into, no, give us more, give us more. And it's like, how much more do you need? But so to all of our listeners, thank you very much. Don't forget to smash that subscribe button. And as
clicking
always,
a like wouldn't hurt either. Like,
right.
Like,
I mean,
subscribe.
Charlie loves to be liked. I mean, look at him. How could you not like it?
I don't care if you like me or not.
See, he says that, but he really likes to be liked.
That means I really want you to like me.
Yeah, it's a thing with him. So as I always end it by saying, be good, be better, and be best. Thank you both.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Jacob.